Welcome everybody to the Viva Connections and SharePoint Framework bi-weekly sync call for November 17th. So we are going to have 3 demos today, which means we've got to sort of move quickly through these introductory slides. I can talk really fast or skip some things. So we're going to have an update on the latest release of the SharePoint Framework. I believe 1.16 came out yesterday or the day before, so that's hot off the press. We're going to have some updates from the Patterns and Practices teams about the various projects. We have several community samples to talk about. We're going to do picture time, and then we've got 3 demos, as I mentioned. So we will try to go quickly to give everybody a good chance to dig into their demos. The PnP community is a very open and welcoming community, hopefully. If you don't feel that way, please let one of us on the PnP team know, because it ought to be. If you have interest in participating, there are lots and lots of different ways that you can jump in and make a difference for the community. You can give demos on calls like this. We can feature you as a demo provider, which would be awesome. You can contribute to the GitHub projects. There's a very long list of projects which you can get to from the main PnP site. You can give us feedback on those projects. You can ask questions if you're using any of our materials, whether it's text or code or solutions. We're here for you, and we want to make sure that you can participate if you have an interest. There are a number of different places that you can see the output from the larger PnP effort. There's the Microsoft 365 developer videos. There are community videos. There's the open source projects, which I think all of them are listed down below as starting points, though each of them has a sub-project as well. There are sample galleries. There are more initiatives and samples and everything all the time. So please visit any one or more of those links if you're interested. And if you need a sort of roadmap or a question answered or anything like that, please, again, feel free to ask in the chat on a call like this, or get in touch with anyone on the PnP team. So we have a number of community calls during the week. There's the Microsoft 365 platform call, which is, I believe, if I've been paying attention, the one that's on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. my time. I'm Eastern Standard Time at the moment. It's 8 a.m. Pacific, which would be 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, and I'm not going to do the rest of the time zones because it would make my brain hurt. Hopefully you can join us if you're interested in things going on with the platform in general. There are several other calls that happen during the course of the week around or month, depending on the frequency. Microsoft Identity Platform, Office Add-ins, Power Platform. The Power Platform community has its own special interest group. Viva Connections and SharePoint Framework, which is this call, is a special interest group. Lots and lots of different ways to, again, get involved and stay informed. I always tell our clients that if they're not using this community, they're doing it wrong. And I think all of you on the call would probably agree with that. So today we have, again, an agenda of 3 different demos. We're going to get some information from Microsoft Engineering first and talk about who has been a contributor this month, and we're going to do the get-together photo, but then we'll jump into the demos. So, who's going to talk about sharing is caring? Is there anybody here who would like to talk about that, or I can certainly blather on?
Ooh, me. I'd love to. Me.
Go, David.
So, thank you, Mark. Excellent, everybody. Welcome to this call as well, and excellent job so far, Mark. Sharing is Caring is a program, friends, that's going to provide you hands-on guidance. So what does that mean? It means that we're going to join calls with you, and together we're going to accomplish cool things like submitting your first pull request, or perhaps you want to learn how to write better for the web. You want to learn how to use those samples that you're seeing everywhere. We are absolutely going to help you. Now, these are safe space opportunities. They're not recorded, so you can ask any and all questions without fear of being recorded and thinking, oh my goodness, should I already know this? And then it's going to go on record forever. None of that's going to happen. We're going to collaborate together. We're going to make you a awesome community contributor and level up your game to an area that you would like. So absolutely free of charge. We've got a Power Platform Samples contributor coming up November 28th. We've got new community docs, first-time contributor, and writing for the web coming in January. Those are getting scheduled right now with Hugo and Emily Mancini, so don't hesitate to sign up for any or all of them. You can check it out at ak.ms/sharing is caring. Now, if we move to the next slide, once you do contribute, we absolutely want to recognize you for all the amazing work that you're doing. The recognition program is here, has been set up, and if we click that button one more time, we'll see the newest badge that is hot on the heels of Hacktoberfest, the Season of Getting. Yes, the Season of Giving? No, Season of Getting. So any pull request you make within the month of October and/or December, you will get this special one-time only badge for 2022, Season of Getting. So you can absolutely sign up if you haven't already. We just need you to opt in, ak.ms/m365pnp-recognition. Great way to formally and officially be recognized for the work that you're doing, that you can show your managers and clients that you're making a difference. So thank you all for being an amazing part of this community. We love that you're enjoying this program, and even more to come soon. So Mark, back to you.
It turns out we do need stinking badges. And in fact, we have a lot of them, and they're awesome to get. They're nice to show off to your friends and family, show how important and useful you may be. There was an interesting little change of sound in your while you were talking, David. It reminded me of the concerts we would go to in the gym back in the 1960s with the revolving speaker. So a little bit of nostalgia for you. So let's talk about the SharePoint framework. I would expect that our good friend Mr. Javonen may have something to say here.
Yep, let's be relatively quick as well, and just conscious about the demo times on the end. So first of all, we have the growth. This is the growth curve, and we do have tens of millions monthly active users for all of the custom components being used within the Microsoft 365, which are built with SharePoint framework, which is really, really cool. And the growth is continuing. Obviously, there's going to be a bit small slowness during holiday time, and we'll get back on the growth track for sure in next spring. Now, as part of that, let's go to the following slide. We know that that's going to happen because we also released the SharePoint Framework of 1.16, which went live 15th of November, so Tuesday this week, and you can actually check the details around what was released there. But key point here is that we are enabling SPFx to be used also in Outlook and in Office.com, or Microsoft 365 app, as it's getting renamed. And there's also a lot of new additional capabilities in the Viva side and on the base SharePoint Framework component side. So we're looking into improving the platform all up for all of these different scenarios, which is cool. Let's go to the following slide. And this slide has not been updated too much from the last time. So 1.16 went live in November 15th. Teams JavaScript SDK, which is enabling the additional hosts or applications, is the key there. 1.17 is scheduled for first quarter in 2023. Pod framework powered Viva cards is intended to go to preview, at least in there. Node v18 support most likely there. React update and some of the other updates as well. New features, capabilities, and all of that. Now, some of that might be changed still because we of course are working towards these objectives, but I cannot guarantee that all of those will happen in the 1.17. But we're looking into potentially having again 4 versions within 2023. Crossing fingers that will happen at least 3, and more announcements and more things in the plans. But that's all on my side. Let's move into PnPjs and Julie.
Thank you. We released version 3.9 on November 11th. We had some general documentation updates. We, as a contributor, contributed adding the get site by resource URL in the graph. We've also added support for multi-line batch responses in a batch call. SP search and suggest got the invocable ability for a truly invocable function, and we updated that corresponding documentation. There is a fix for awaiting the completed promises. That was a problem in batches when using caching, so that is fixed. And the graph search endpoint was returning an improperly formatted root drive, and that has been fixed. If you, in the future, want to see any of the fixes that are merged in between releases, monthly releases, you can always check out that SP at V3 Nightly release that we do nightly, and you can check out anything that has been merged up until that particular date and time. As always, please follow us M365 PnPjs on Twitter. Back to you, Mark.
All right, and we have the CLI for Microsoft 365. I feel like I'm listening to this on 2x speed because everyone's talking really, really fast. Who's going to talk about the CLI?
I can take this one, Mark. It's Gary. Hi, everyone. So CLI for Microsoft 365 updates. We have a new beta release off the back of the minor release of 5.9 in the last meeting that I talked through. So this is V6. This is going to be including some breaking changes. So if you're wanting to make the jump, this is the version to use to just test and make sure that your scripts are working. We've provided some guidance in the documentation. So I've just put the link in the chat. So if you're looking to move and keep up with the latest version, you can use that guidance, which will tell you about all the breaking changes. We've deprecated some commands, changed some aliases as well to just make things a lot more consistent. We've also included a ton of new commands as well. So like you see, we've got 8 new commands for Power Platform, we've got 8 new commands for SharePoint Online, and 2 for Azure Active Directory. Check out the release notes for those. There'll be more coming in the next few weeks. If you want to install the new version, use the next tag. If you're using npm or even our Docker container, use that next tag to get the latest version. And if you want to follow us, get involved in the conversations, please follow us on Discord, join our server, and on Twitter at CLI Microsoft 365. Just wanted to say, Hacktoberfest, super amazing. We hit 101 contributors and we closed 91 PRs in the month, which is absolutely incredible. So thank you very much for everyone who contributed. Back to you.
Awesome. I think next up is SharePoint Framework Reusable Components, and maybe Alex is here for that today.
Yep, I'm here. So yesterday we released version 3.12 for React Controls and 3.11 for property controls. Both versions have a lot of fixes, improvements, and one of the main things in there is support for SPFx 1.16. So basically we are aligned with SPFx releases. So if you want to learn more, check the release notes, and thank you. Back to you, Mark.
All right, that was nice and short and sweet. PnP Modern Search. Do we have somebody to talk about that, or shall I just go on about how wonderful that is? We have, I know they have a new version 4.8, which is a beta, and they're hoping to release a new version in the beginning of December. Looking forward to that. I know there are a couple of fixes in there I'm looking forward to. This is an awesome set of web parts that you can use to build custom search-driven solutions. If you haven't looked at that yet, we're looking forward to the next release. All right, PnP SPFx samples.
Yes, I will take that. Thank you, Mark. So as you can see, friends, we have a plethora of samples that have been processed. So thank you all for your patience. A lot of processing done here, and we really appreciate all these samples. Just in the interest of time, we're not going to cover each and every single one of them. We will include them in the blog posts and all of that. And thank you so much again for all that you've done on these SPFX web parts. Move to the next slide. We'll see the SPFX extensions. A few less, but still quite a few. And again, thank you for your patience. And then move to the next slide and SPFX ACEs. So we've had a cornucopia of samples. So thank you all. And if you've not already been asked if you'd like to demo these, please don't hesitate to reach out to anyone on the PnP team, and we would love to get you scheduled. And if you haven't been asked, we will likely be asking you. So thank you. Mark, back to you.
All right. I think, Vesa, you're going to take the picture. Is that right?
Yes, that is true. Let me.
So please, everyone, get your cameras going so that you can be a part of the throng that you see in the together mode. So far, it's rather lonely with just the three of us. So.
Let's see how fast that is.
Come on, everybody, walk on in.
No, I just put my camera at least on. It is Teams has been behaving badly this week.
It's a little slow, yeah.
It is pretty slow. It's been 20 seconds already. That's interesting.
Yeah, it just seems like everybody's incognito today.
Oh,
it's a nice place to visit, but you wouldn't want to live there.
in the Barbados area, or
I think it's in Latin.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Now we're
Look
getting
at all
more
these people showing up.
Interestingly, empty seats on the middle as well. Oh, there we go. There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. Let's wait 10 more seconds. If we
I
get
think
another
people are
bunch
still
of...
finishing their coffee out in the hallway.
I think it's Teams this time causing the problem.
Yeah.
Let's do some hand waving. Everybody will grab a GIF animation out of this as well. Thank you, everybody, for joining one more time. Really awesome to see you here. Excellent. And we'll grab a GIF animation out of that. Excellent. That was good. And then, Mark, let's go to the demos, right?
Yes. So we have 3 demos today, as I've continually mentioned. The first one is Siddhartha Bagasia. Hopefully I've said your name right. I apologize if I didn't. Siddhartha, are you Siddharth?
Yeah, it's
Again, my apologies. Are you there and ready?
I'm here and ready. I can take it over.
Excellent. Take it away.
Okay. Hello, welcome everyone, and thanks for the opportunity again to present my demo here. Today I'm going to talk about a utility web part to manage the SPFx form customizer for your SharePoint list and libraries. A little bit about myself. I'm Siddharth Bagasia. I'm a Microsoft MVP and independent consultant. I love to work on SharePoint, Teams app, Power Platform, Azure.net. These are some of the social handles through which you would be able to connect with me. Okay, so this basically web parts will allow the user to associate a form customizer to list and library. This is the link to the repo from where you would be able to download the source code of the web part which we are going to see today. So let's talk about driving factor. So we all know with SPFx 1.5, a new type of extension, which is form customizer extension, has been introduced, through which we would be able to customize the form experience for the list and library. So basically, we would be able to associate custom new form, custom edit form, and custom display form for our list and libraries, right? So with this, as a part of deployment, what we had to do is we had to associate the particular component ID of the SPFx customizer extension to a content type. And there are different ways to do it. We can do it using PowerShell. We can do it using REST API and CSOM. The purpose or the driving factor for this one is an utility or an admin web part through which we would be able to manage the form customizer on multiple lists and libraries by using the same concept wherein we would be associating, taking the input from the user as in configuration options, and then associating a particular form customizer to list and libraries. So this is a feature, kind of summary of the web part which we are going to see today. It's a simple user interface which will give you to associate and remove a form customizer with list and libraries. You can use it across code site collection. It means as it is an admin or a developer utility web part, you don't need to deploy this web part on every site collection. You can deploy it on one site collection, and if you have access to various site collection, you would be able to deploy it on various lists from here itself. There is an ability to select site, list, and content type via dropdown, so you don't have to manually enter the names and everything. Then also has the ability to associate and remove the form customizer. It means it also has a capability to remove the form customizer so that the list can go back to the default out-of-the-box forms which are available. And you can also choose whether you wanted to select a single form type, whether you wanted to just associate view form, or you can associate just edit form, or you can associate all the 3 forms, right? So just a quick technical note. The crux of the web part is just that it is making a REST API call to update the content type property of a particular list. So the association of the form customizer extension needs to be done via content type. It is not at the list and library level. So with the with the release of the form customizer extension, we got 6 new properties, in fact, for associating this component type with a particular content type, right? And to do that, what you can do is we can do a patch request, and the object which we have to pass to that patch request on particular content type is where you can set new form client-side component ID, display form client-side component ID, edit form client-side component ID, and the properties associated with if you want to make your extension configurable, right? So yeah, with this, let's quickly see the demo. So what we have is, now consider there would be 2 parts to the demo as such. Consider, because this is an utility web part, so we assume that there is already an SPFx form extension solution which is already deployed on a targeted site collection, which basically does actually gives the experience of new edit and view form of a particular list and libraries on which we wanted to associate. So we'll take an example of this where we'll associate a particular solution to this particular list. Right now, what we are seeing is that once you click on it, it is opening out of the box view, out of the box forms, the edit, view, and the list form of a particular list, right? And what we will do is this is another solution. This is a simple crude demo solution of a form extension wherein we have just two columns, title and description column. And using this title and description, we are basically demoing the crude operations on a particular list and libraries, right? So now we see that it is default forms which have been loaded. And I have solution which is deployed here. So this is the web part, which we are focusing on today. So what you get is you get an option to select a site. So we will select the site as targeted site collection where the list would be. You can also put custom site URL here. Then you got to choose which list or library to which you wanted to associate it with. So I'll select form customizer demo. Then you can choose the content type. So as association is done via content type, you can choose it. And by default, there would be item content type, which would be already there for the list, right? And then this is where you have to put the client component ID. Now, from where do we get this client component ID is on the solution, on the base solution where you have your customization being deployed. There would be a manifest file. In the manifest file, you would see that there is a unique ID associated with each component. It is very much similar to any other extension type along with the web part which we have. So what we will do is we will put the component ID here, and then we will say new form, edit form, and view forms. We wanted to associate with all the three forms, and I'll just say associate. And once the association is done, it just displays the basic information. And now let's see that whether the association has been done or not, right? Now, once I will click on new button, you can see that the solution has been associated with the particular list library on the new item form. And this is the solution which has been deployed. So here we have test. I'll just put a test entry here, and I'll just save it. And what you can see is you can see that by default it has been associated with it, and the web part is also deployed, and then the basic operation has been done, right? So this is overall the demo of the utility web part which we have. You also get to choose to remove the association by basically selecting the same component ID and everything, and then just say that if you wanted to disassociate, what we have to do is we have to empty the component ID of a particular property which is available, and it will automatically disassociate, and you can by default see the out of the box forms which are available, right? So with this, let me quickly go to the code walkthrough. So web part is anyways simple as such, but what I had been doing is I had been using PnP React Controls to basically utilize the already components which are available for the site selection and list selection. So we have a site picker on which if we give just the context of the web part where it is running, by default it will able to list down all the sites where we have access, right? And then what we have is we have a list picker. So based on the site selected, we are using list picker, and we are giving the site URL as in the context property. And based on that, it will automatically list down all the list and libraries and populate the list picker. Now, next thing is to select the content type, which we are seeing. One thing is, I know there is an PnP React control which is available for selecting a content type also. But when I was developing this web part, which probably was in September sometime, there was an issue with that content type web part, which we were not able to use it, and which I believe has been fixed in the latest release. So I might have to change this to use that selected, but right now I am using the custom dropdown to basically get the content type and display the content type in the dropdown, right? So next thing is, so this is the code using PnPjs from where we are getting the content type and just associating the content type and putting it in the state object so that the dropdown gets filled with the content type associated to the selected list. Now, the next thing is these are simple checkboxes, which basically tells, with whom we want to associate edit, view, new form. And then this is the method, the add form customizer method. So this is the main method which basically does the validation first, whether the required fields are being added. And then what it does, it gives associated via a method from the by using the updating the content type properties, right? So again, same thing, we are getting the content type URL, we are seeing whether it was an add or remove association, and then we are updating it via HTTP client request. Now, I'm not sure if I'm right or wrong, but the thing is that I tried to use PnPjs to update the content type property using PnPjs method, but somehow I did not find the update method. So I went ahead and used HTTP client object method by using getting the content type URL from the PnPjs, but just making the patch request by creating the body object which is there. So this is to associate the form customizer with the list or library. And then we have the remove part. Let me see. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, so this is the remove association customizer, in which same thing we are doing. What we are doing is we are basically calling the same method, which is to associate, but based on add or remove, it will just empty the client-side component ID so that we can by default see the old out-of-the-box forms which are available. So yeah, in a way, this was the simple utility web part. As said, this is a targeted to developers or administrator, which would give them an ability to provide an user interface through which they can associate a form customizer being deployed to single list library or across multiple site collections. That's it from my side. Thank you, Mark. Over to you.
Wow, that was great, Siddharth. Thank you. And again, I apologize if I mispronounced your name. I'm gonna introduce Nike Brune. If I'm gonna mispronounce one name, I'm gonna mispronounce them all. So Nick, take it away.
Thanks. Right. Let's. Yes. So yeah, Fluent UI 9. Let's hit the slides and actually get into this. So my name is Nick Brown. I'm a senior 365 developer and architect at JISC. Been working in the education sector since 2008. I do not look as old as I am in any picture or in real life. Been working on the platform for 11 years now. Yeah, this is probably the second year that I've actually been contributing to the community and absolutely loving it and hoping to do some more demos. So let's get into the actual grip. So I'm going to talk about what is Fluent UI, what is the current version of Fluent UI, talk about the new version, version 9, give you a demo of what that looks like and go into some of the code. I'll try and make this as quick because there is another demo after me. So yeah, what is Fluent UI? It's a collection of UI frameworks created by Microsoft to bring platform together. It's developed by Microsoft. URL that you should all know if you're developing anything to do with SharePoint is the URL that's on screen. Yeah, built for one platform. Yeah, it is the company Fluent UI 7 is what ships with SPFx, and in total with Fluent UI 8, there's 128 or so components in the library. So it's a very, very extensive library, 7 and 8. So what is different? Oh, well, sorry, let's have a quick video of where this is. So yeah, for those of you who don't know about the Fluent UI website, this is where you can go and find all of your controls that you want to use in your lovely SPFx packages, your buttons and everything. You've got your code that you want to use. If you want to use it, you've got your drop downs. And these are all using what I would call the SharePoint style of controls, which is very good for SharePoint, but it's actually starting to show that it's not quite the styling anymore, especially around Outlook. It's them getting a bit rounder with their boxes and with their buttons, but there's stuff in the Fluent UI 7 and 8 that you can't get in the new one, which I'll go through in a second. But absolutely amazing controls, and the source code is there. You can literally just go into the source code tab and drag and drop. So Fluent UI 9 is the new version that Microsoft is making. It's Windows 11 styled, React based. It merges, and this is the big one, it merges 8 and North Star together. So anybody that's developing stuff for Teams, they'll know very heavily about North Star. And this is merging that into one library. It's an ongoing project, and currently there's only 60 components. So you've got a lot more in the older version of Fluent UI, but they are heavily developed in Fluent UI 9. And yeah, the big thing there is it merges 8 and North Star into one thing. So quick little video now of the Fluent UI 9 React website. Current version is 9.7 as of when I recorded this on Monday. There are, like I said, 60 plus components. You've got all your standard components in there, as well as the very useful tab list one. No, just seen that in chat. No, SPFx 1.16 is not using Fluent UI 9. It's still using Fluent UI 7. So this is what it looks like. These are the buttons. They're a lot more styled around Windows 10 and 11. Yeah, you've got your campaign buttons, your split buttons, your toggle buttons. You've got your tab list in here as well. And as you can see, it looks a lot more like what you get with Windows 11 and the styling around that. What else have I got in here? Yeah, we go through what the vertical appearance looks like. And yeah, we've got the sliders. We've got the dialogues as well. And you can see that they look a lot more like Windows 11 than they would the older style. A lot more in keeping with Outlook and that. So let's hit the demo and show you the Fluent UI 9 demo that I've put together. This has actually been updated. Thanks, Avessa, for releasing 1.16 a couple of days ago. It has been I have updated my the module. It probably hasn't hit the repo yet. So yeah, I've added this into a com site here. Just installed the app in the normal way, and we'll go and see where it is now. So we'll go to the Fluent UI tab, and you can see now it looks very, very similar to the standard Fluent UI package, and that's some of the magic I'm doing in the background. But you can see subtle differences, especially in the buttons. The corners aren't more rounded in Fluent UI 9. You've got your tab controls, and they were in more of the Windows 11 way of doing things. And yeah, you've got your card controls in here and your inputs. Yeah, you've got your inputs. The inputs are, again, more Windows UI, Windows 11 UI based, and this is one of the other source codes that I've made, and it's actually made using Fluent UI 9. So yeah, the latter part of this demo is just going to show you quickly that. I'm hoping that they're going to merge all the Fluent UIs into one, but Fluent UI 9 isn't probably where I would say at a state that it's good enough for swapping over to yet. It's getting there. It is a lot faster to use, and using more of the modern paradigms for coding in. So you can see here I'm showing off that I've used the table control. I've used the SharePoint dialog information for pulling up who somebody is. You can see here the search box and text input. So you can see that's more in the Windows 11 style, where it's you get that animation on the underline. And yeah, that is the quick demo of that. But I would be hesitant to not show off some of the cool features of Fluent UI 9. And that is around when you move over to Teams. And with the magic of SPFx whenever the Teams functionality came in, but also you'll see in a second the 16 stuff. So you can see here it's picking up the style colors from Teams. And yeah, there's not much more to say. It's picking up the style color from Teams. But here's the big thing that happens when you go into dark mode. It's pulling across the dark mode theme for Teams. And that's native in the, I'm doing a bit of coding to actually make that happen, but the themes are actually native in Fluent UI 9. And we'll go now into something that I recorded probably an hour before this demo, and that is I managed to get my Outlook.com functionality working in this, thanks in part to obviously SPFx 16. And you can see there that even toggling into dark mode, the theme is changing inside of Outlook as well. So let's have a look at some of the code. So the first thing you'll need to do is actually install the Fluent UI React components. That's done using the standard npm stuff. I'm doing the shorthand here. Optionally, if you're doing this from the start, you can actually uninstall the older version, the Office UI Fabric React components, because you don't need them. And see if this is going to work properly. So this is the code, and so in the web part, the actual web part itself, we need to import the providers, the theme providers, as well as I'm importing here the Teams Dark, the Teams Light, and the Web Light and Dark themes. I am also I've pulled in a shim from the docs that Microsoft's released to map across the theme. This is slightly different from the code that's currently in GitHub. That pull request is currently going through to move over to this. It's something new that the Fluent UI 9 team have released. I've used an enum then to actually set what app mode the apps are running in. And you can see there that's been updated for SPFx 16, 1.16. We are just obviously initializing some config variables there. And then one of the big bits that's going in is using SPFx 16, obviously pulling across from the Teams.js SDK, pulling out what mode the app is running in. If the SDK isn't there, it's actually in SharePoint mode. So we're just picking that up and popping that into a local variable. So yeah, the actually rendering the components were actually still in this, but what we need to do is wrap the actual control itself in the Fluent UI provider. So this is just us initializing it, but instead of passing that directly to the renderer, we're saving that in a variable. And then we're wrapping that. We're creating a Fluent provider variable then. And this is where we're doing some of the magic around setting which theme we want to use, depending on which app mode we're in. So if we're in Teams, we're going to set it either into Teams Dark or Teams Light, depending if it's in dark mode. If it's in SharePoint, we're going to set it either to use the Web Dark theme or use the theme that has been set in the SharePoint site itself. Failing that, we're going to fall over to using the Web Dark and Web Light themes. So that is an addition that I did today to get Outlook working. And then on the renderer, we're actually passing through the Fluent UI elements rather than the actual element itself. The element itself is again put in as a child on the Fluent provider. And then on the theme change, we just need to do a bit of work here and this is where the shim comes in. We're passing the theme that we get through as a read-only item from SPFx. We're passing that through to the shim, which is mapping all of the colors onto the new Fluent UI framework. And I believe I showed the shim in the next one. Yep. So I've slightly concatenated this and removed some. This is available from the Fluent UI doc site. They've got a TS file with the shim actually in. I've taken that, stripped out some of the bits because the effects and fonts I couldn't get working. So I've just done the colors in this one using their mapping file. And that gets mapped onto the standard theme. And then in the actual demo, I've just concatenated this down again. I went forward too far there. We're pulling through the buttons, and I'm just showing off how it works with a tab list, and then the how dividers work and some of the buttons work. Full source code, I think David or somebody has already probably shared the link to the repo for this. One thing to note is stacks currently do not exist in Fluent UI 9, so those that are very familiar with using stacks, they're not in Fluent UI 9 yet. They may not come to Fluent UI 9, so if you want to do it, the simplest method I've found to do this is just to use a bit of CSS to do it, but there are some shims available as well. And that is it for me. I think I managed to rattle through that, so thank you very much. And
awesome,
yeah,
Nick.
The links, David's posted the links.
Thanks a lot, Nick. That's a great overview of Fluent UI 9. Definitely something for all developers to know about if they're not using some sort of standard controls. They certainly ought to be. There are a few other options out there if anyone's interested too. I'm going to introduce Nicholas Wilhelm. Are you ready to go?
Okay, there we go. Yeah, hello everyone. This is my very first PnP demo. So therefore, a few things about me at first. Yeah, my name is Nicholas Wilhelm, and I live in Germany, and currently I do work as a Microsoft 365 architect for an IT consultant company called ICT. Besides that, two colleagues of mine and I founded a small company you might already know or heard of. It's the Hubsite365.com. If you don't know it, in short, it's a platform where you can find curated content about Microsoft 365 and Azure. It's like a newsletter, a reader, and a dictionary in one platform. So it's pretty cool, and you might just want to check it out. If you want to reach out to me or Hubsite 365 regarding any subject, you can do so over our social media channels, Twitter and LinkedIn. So today, I'm going to show you a little SPFx web part I've built. And this web part visualizes all lists on a site in an entity relationship diagram. Therefore, we're using, of course, the SharePoint Framework SPFx, PnPjs to pull all the data from SharePoint, and Go.js to visualize everything in an ERD. Well, why should you do that? Of course, it's pretty cool. And but the idea came actually out of a practical case. I was working on a project where a colleague of mine built a complex list structure, and I just thought, wouldn't it be nice to have a tool which is showing the complete structure in an entity relationship diagram? And then I thought, okay, that's might be not that hard. And yeah, if there's of course an npm package which will do most of the work for me, and luckily there was. And therefore, it's Go.js I'm using for that. And yeah, highlights of the solution is, of course, we're visualizing everything in the ERD. We're using the SPFx single part app page to have more space to visualize everything of it, so it's not in a small web part. And then we do have optional, you can show and hide alerts and fields, and alerts are, for example, also showing you I don't know, if you have issues on the versioning, or you're reaching the item threshold by the limit, and so on. And you can also download your entity relationship diagram as an image. Okay, so that's it for the introduction. Let's jump into the demo. Just switch over to that screen. Okay, so one thing to is a web part, or if you want to start with that, When you download it from GitHub, from the official repository, you usually you just start it up and I don't know, go to your workbench and so on. But for this, because then you can just add a page, go here to apps, and add it as a app page web part, like this. Let's just give it a title. And here it is. Of course, it's a little bit small. I'll zoom a little bit in here. And you can see what it has done at the beginning. It's loaded all the sites and all the fields, and out of the lookups of all the fields, it builds the relations. And after that, it's going to put everything into the Go.js. So that's that. And on top of that, there's one command bar just with a few options. Here's one refresh button. Usually you will see, the first time you will start this, you will see that. And that's when it's loading all the lists. After that, it's cached. So when you open up, it will just refresh immediately. Then you can, for example, show also the lists which are not related to any other lists. So it's a little bit more stuff. Usually you can, switch off the alerts. You can see in the tables on the lists, I've added also some alerts. Maybe sometimes it's an info, sometimes it's in warning. For example, when you close to reaching the threshold limit, you can switch off these. And you can switch also off the fields, and then you have a smaller ERD. If you have the fields, you can also switch to, or you can also switch between internal and display name, whatever you prefer. And when you zoom out and like that, for example, you can also download it as an image and, I don't know, show to your friends. Okay, that's it for the web part. So what I'm using in here is Go.js, and that was basically also where I started from, to search for where do I start, which package can do the visualization. And Go.js can do a lot of more stuff, as you can see here. I started basically from this sample here. As you can see, it's pretty close. So the work of the visualization was not that much. And there was also an npm package where I started from. So if you want to do anything like this, you can go for that. One thing to mention is that you can see it also here in the top left corner. It's if you go, I don't know, productive in any way with that, you would need to acquire a license for that, I guess. So, okay, let's have a quick look in the code. Try to keep it short. So the web part itself is pretty simple. I basically did nothing here, as it's still as it's generated from the generator, and in the component itself, it's a functional component. So we're using React use state and use ref and so on. We do have one state, which is basically the data for Go.js, and we have a few state variables for the command bar, like switching the alerts off and so on, what you have seen. The JSX is also pretty simple. You see the command bar, you see the loading progress indicator, and when everything is loaded, we're just passing everything into the React diagram component from Go.js. So when this fires up, there's one use effect, component did mount. And this is also firing when some of my variables change in the command bar. And we just do our load diagram function. And this one is doing all the magic. So we have one function, get SharePoint site data. And in here, let's jump into it. We're just doing all the PnPjs stuff. So yeah, creating the context out of the SPFx context and so on, iterating over all lists, iterating over all fields, and yeah, identify some alerts and so on, and putting all this data in some abstract, I would say abstract interfaces or model. And the model which has come out is just tables and relations. And after that, after we got this bundle of data, we need to transform it. So it's like an abstract bundle, I would say. And if you, I don't know, maybe you want to go or want to do something similar or different, you could also go with a different library, like Three.js or something like that. They can also do cool visualization stuff. So you could, yeah, just also modify whatever is getting pulled out of here, or even have your own structure. And then you can go here and have a different, I don't know, mapping function, because this function is just mapping the data from, I don't know, my internal structure to the structure I need for Go.js. So if we go here, you can see it's just a little bit mapping. And on top of here, some definition here on, you can see here's the little mapping table, and it's mapping by type. So by the type of the column, I'm mapping, yeah, the color as well as the little figure, which is rendered then. Is it yeah, a circle or a diamond, whatever. And yeah, it's just a little bit mapping. And yeah, at the end, we're just setting our state and everything's getting re-rendered. So pretty simple and pretty much fun. And yeah, I guess that's for me.
Yeah, that was really cool. I actually think I want to download that and check out some of my data models. That's awesome. Yeah. Thanks, and also congratulations on doing your first PnP demo. And maybe congratulations isn't the right thing. You did a great job. So thanks for doing it. So thanks, Siddharth, Nick, and Nicholas. And we really appreciate you doing your demos today. Makes these calls exciting and new. So thank you for joining us. The recording will be available. If you try to access the recording from this actual chat in Teams, you won't actually be able to do it. So just wait for the video to be posted to the YouTube channel, and make sure you follow us on Twitter, Microsoft 365 Dev or M365PnP. Thanks a lot for joining us, and the next call will be on December 1st, same bat time, same bat channel, different bat presenter. We all have a great day.